now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, Cayman. Happy Friday. TGIF, who is here with me? I can't believe it's Friday already. I actually cannot believe that we're in the middle of May. It seems like just yesterday we were talking about celebrating Christmas. And then the next thing we know, we had an early election called. And we were like, let's get the election. And look at this. Election has come and gone, and the only person still crying about it is Alden McLaughlin. We're going to talk about it this morning, good folks. Why is this man still crying over spoilt milk? Or as we say, spilt milk. I don't know if it's spoilt or spilt, but man, I tell you what, he is crying over it, folks. Good morning. We shall dissect all of that. But of course, on this program, we believe in manners first. So I want to say good morning to everyone. Who do we have logged in this morning? Oh gosh, now you guys can't be expecting me to uh read Chinese and Arabic and all these other symbols that you can activate on Facebook names, but whatever that name is, good morning to you, my dear. Thank you for tuning in, Marshall, Irvelyn, Siobhan. Yes, happy Friday. What's going on for the long holiday weekend? I always seem to not know it's a long holiday weekend until the very last minute because I don't know, like I don't really pay that attention to the calendar in terms of holidays, right? Unless it's the major ones, like maybe Christmas. Everybody knows when Christmas is, but yeah, this holiday kind of snuck up on me. And then I said, hold on a second. What holiday is this? Why are we celebrating it? And wasn't it usually in June? I tell you what, it has just really come by very, very quickly this year. So this holiday that we're celebrating is Discovery Day, in case you don't know. Mr. Giles, good morning. Irvelyn, Lizette, Jasara's here. We got the regular crew. Dion, Miss Morna, Karen, Abigail, beautiful morning to you. Miss Donna is here. Anthony, of course, is logged in. Valdine, Bonnie, Richie Rich. I call him Richie Rich. He says it's Richie Rave. Louie, good morning. Thank you so much. Tea time, Donovan. Donovan's here for it. Donovan's like, oh, yeah. I got to tune in. What's up, Omar? Felicia, Bonnie, Miss Carol is logged into YouTube. Dorette, now somebody was saying to me just this morning that I need to remind more people on YouTube that they can, or more people, they can view the YouTube link. And so I'm happy to send that out to our WhatsApp group for sure. So you can watch it on both YouTube, Facebook, and you can also watch it via the website once I make that live, which I'm going to do here right now. So we got Facebook covered. We've got YouTube covered. So let me put in the YouTube link. And we definitely have, there we go. There we go. Sorry for the feedback there. And we definitely have the website as well. So let me just remind everyone of your viewing options. And by the way, there are more ways to watch it. You can actually watch it on the podcast. Digicel has put our show on their podcast, their Go Loud podcast. So if you're on the road, and this is actually good news for those of you who like to go out and about, and you're like, oh, I don't have data to watch you on YouTube or Facebook. I think for sure, if you use this Go Loud app, you can actually listen to it. And if you are a Digicel customer, when you listen to the podcast, you get, I think with most plans that I've seen with them, you actually get unlimited use of their apps. So in other words, whatever data you use for their apps, it's not going to actually like use up your paid data. So yeah, check that out. If you are a Digicel customer, you can most certainly listen to it through the Go Loud app. Yes, I forget that there's podcasting options. And after the show, we also load it up to, oh my gosh, I'll have to ask my tech support here, but there's quite a few different platforms, including Apple and some others that you can always go back and watch it to as well, or listen to it as a podcast. And the most interesting thing about the podcast is that the people who are listening to that, we've noticed, are a lot of people overseas in Europe, which I think is so interesting and so fascinating. But yeah, the Europeans must be like, what's going on in the Cayman Islands? So we, everywhere I go, sometimes I get feedback on the website. We're always trying to find a way to improve things. So yesterday I was speaking to a gentleman and he said to me, that apparently whenever he like right clicks on the link, it doesn't allow him to open it because he's one of those people that loves to do like the right click to open a new tab. And I know why that is. There is a security feature, I think, that is in the site to prevent like copying of photos and stuff like that. So it was assuming that when he was doing that he was actually trying to copy something, when in fact, he was just trying to open the new link. And I think I believe it's now been rectified. I have spoken to my tech guy and explained to him what the issue was, because English isn't his first language. So sometimes he doesn't always, he's like, come again. So I've explained it to him, and I think he now gets it, and it has been corrected. So I'm going to reach back out to that young man this morning and let him know that now he can use his right mouse click to open a new tab, and he should be fine. Good morning, Ava. Good morning, Barbara. Shernette is here. Anne Marie. Lennon, beautiful good morning, says Monday used to be Family Fair Day before Discovery Day? Or did they just have a family fair on Discovery Day? Interesting, Lennon. Thank you for that tidbit of information. Brandon is here for his morning tea. Olivia is here. I feel like oh yes, let me not forget to send this to the WhatsApp group. Big shout out to Charles Whitaker. We're going to be conducting an interview with him very soon, folks. You guys got to get ready for that. Good morning, James. Good morning, Alba. Good morning, Julie. So I'm waiting on my videographer. I actually need to speak to him today about a few things, because there is a young lady who has been sexually assaulted at a school, and the government has basically done nothing about it. So she would like to come and speak to the people directly. And I need to protect her identity. That's my biggest concern, because she is underage. So I'm trying to work with the videographer to sort out what's the best way to do that. We're going to have to put her maybe behind some sort of privacy screen. And then he has to be prepared to actually alter her voice, essentially, because that will be a big thing as well. So we are working on a few things, but let's get into what popped off yesterday. So as you guys know, or you may know by now, good morning, Miss Sue, Louie, Cara, Jonas, and Miss Beulah all locked in. You guys might know by now that Alden McLaughlin, along with the Progressives, now he's no longer the leader, but from what I saw yesterday, he might as well be the leader, like seriously. I still have a little bit of it to watch. Like, I'm forcing myself to watch it because, obviously we're in the news business, and whether I care about something or not in terms of it being newsworthy, you all certainly care about these things. So we want to make sure that we're covering all news. Although the fact that they didn't bother to invite us to their press conference, which we're not surprised at, because they've never invited us to a press conference, but there you have it. They continue to be absolutely ridiculous in their behavior, very immature. So they had this press conference. Good morning, Miss Rose. Good morning, Cammie. Hey, Megan. What's up? So I got a phone call. Good morning to Bishop Hero Blair. I got a message to say, oh my gosh, Alden is, the Progressives are having a press conference. Someone sent it to me. And I was like, snooze fast. I'm just being honest with you all. This is exactly what I said to the person. I'm like, I don't care. Really, I don't care. And then a few other people started messaging me about it. And they were like, oh my gosh, Alden is like saying, this is what this person said. They said CMR incited violence by going to Isaac's house, etc. And Alden said in all his years, he's never seen anything so yet. And I was just like, cry me a river, Alden McLaughlin. You are such a little baby. So then other people started messaging me. Let me see this next one. Mhm. Yeah, so other people started messaging me, and this person was like, I mean, the comments, I gotta say, I'm gonna read you some of the comments that I got because the comments were so funny. So someone sent me a screenshot and they said, "This is on now." And I was just like, oh, okay. The real Alden McLaughlin was streaming it on his page as though, anyway. And they said, this is on now. I said, oh, okay. Here we go. Sore losers fest. And they made a little fun about John, which I'm not going to repeat because it's, probably not very nice. And then they said, OMG, Alden just said that he hopes that the government can last in the first year, and he's bashing the new government. He said that from his experience, that some people in government goes on their own. Just how can you have a government with all these independents, but he wishes them the best. So I was just like, oh, I'm just going to have to watch this. Like, you people believe in torturing me. What's up with that? Burger King, big shout out to Burger King. I feel like I'm going to need a Whopper for breakfast after dissecting the foolishness that Alden went on with yesterday. But anyway, good morning, Ms. Renita. James Cayman Vlogs is here. I have not seen you in a minute. Thank you so much for tuning in. The beautiful Kathy and Kristen, two twins, are both here. Are you guys just twinning, or did you both say, oh, log on right now? I bet you that's total coincidence that both twins logged on at exactly, or commented at exactly 7:48. Irvelyn says, what crime was committed? Well, let's break it down, right? So yes, he is still crying over the election, which, as you guys know, has been a minute now. And I'm sitting here going, Alden, are you serious? Like, first of all, it's crazy in my mind that Alden would not have, yes, Miss Bonnie, we're on YouTube. We actually have 63 people watching us on YouTube right now, YouTube Live. And we just went over 300 in total. So we've got 238 people on Facebook. But yeah, we are definitely on YouTube right now. Morning shows are always live on YouTube. And I'm actually getting some equipment that hopefully will allow us to, anytime we go live, if we use that particular equipment, we can do both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So we're always looking to include the YouTube folks. Yeah, so Alden is still, let me break it down. First of all, the press conference started with the new leader of the opposition, Mr. Roy McTaggart. He read a prepared speech, and short and I guess to the point. And then the floor was open for questions. And of course, here comes Alden McLaughlin. So when Wendy started asking questions, I don't know who else was there other than CNS, because I'm assuming their BFS Compass must have been there, and probably Luke came out. I'm not sure. But I only know Wendy was there because she asked the first set of questions, and I haven't finished listening to it. Like I said, it's quite torturous actually to have to listen to this press conference. And so, I have to take it in bits and pieces. And I'm not a drinker, as you guys know, but if I had been, I'd probably need a whole bottle of vodka next to me to make it through. But the Lord is good, because guess what? I can just sip in some water while I listen to the foolishness. Good morning, Roderick. So he starts off, cry him a river. I can't remember what the exact first question was that she asked, but basically what he started to say was that she said something like, are we ever going to know anything about essentially what you guys were offering, the independents, how they came to be wanting to flip-flop all over the place? And his position on this, which I thought was very, very interesting, was that, hold on a second, you guys are talking about what we did to flip the independents. The real question is, why did they flip from us? So Alden now is prepared to sort of throw them under the bus, but he wouldn't give us any names. So I thought it was ever so interesting that he actually said that they, the progressives, were blindsided by the independents because his group had made arrangements with 4 of them to form the government before election night. Now, we would love to know which four, Alden. Why are you throwing it out there, but don't just go all the way? You're a tease, okay? Just tell us who the four are. The people deserve to know who was so duplicitous. We think we know at least who two of them are, and we can speculate about the others because they actually said that they had made arrangements with Jay and Isaac. They said that. But remember, Jay never signed their little piece of paper. So what Alden basically said is he was surprised on election night that Wayne Panton got all these people, all these independents to sign his piece of paper. And he was like, how did that happen? Because we had an arrangement with them. Now, when I was listening to the press conference, of course, my little ears perked up. I was like, you had an arrangement with who? He never said. But what he did say is that they helped them financially. Interesting. And they gave them strategic advice, like election advice. Well, clearly you could have kept that advice to your own because it never helped your own people. So I don't know about that. I wouldn't say you're in a position to give anybody advice, right, Miss Judy? Anyway, thank you, Miss Bonnie. She's going to watch it on YouTube. So yes, I thought that was extremely interesting. Kara's got the vodka ready. She said she'll share the bottle with me because she's listening to this dumb you-know-what. Straight up or a screwdriver. I don't know since I don't drink, but probably straight up was going to knock me out. So maybe put a little something in there for me. Sue says he's just like Trump. He can't get over it. Belika says, good morning, Sandra. Alden is a dope. Yes, he's still crying about the loss, and he has also admitted that they were buying unnamed independents who were supposedly running against them. Ta-da! So he lets his cat out of the bag that they were working with certain independents, financing them, and giving them election advice. So he was surprised that on election night, the next morning, I guess, they hear that these same independents signed on with Wayne. And you know what he said yesterday? He said, listen, obviously they had been talking for quite some time. So I thought, ooh, Alden is basically admitting to having double agents in his midst. Well, Alden, welcome to the world of politics. I think you've been at this for a minute, so you should know by now how duplicitous people can be, especially politicians like yourself. Duplicity is probably the middle name for 99% of all of you. So instead of holding the independents accountable for this flip-flopping all over the place, he then throws out that CMR is to blame. First, he starts generally talking about media, but I knew it wouldn't be long before our name would be in Alden's mouth. I was like, poor Alden. For him to even say that to me is just so absolutely ridiculous. But you know what, Alden? I would like to thank you because you have acknowledged, as someone said to me yesterday, at the highest levels of this country, as one of the opposition members, you have, I guess, is he the deputy leader of the opposition? I don't think they've said who is, but anyway. You have acknowledged that CMR played a very pivotal role in the election. Why, thank you, sir. Now, his description of the pivotal role that we played is very interesting and wholly inaccurate. So that's what we're going to talk about. So Alden blames us for, interestingly enough, not the people that won. So he didn't say, oh, CMR did such a great job showcasing people like Sabrina Turner that maybe that helped her win her seat. He never said that. What he then says is that we are a bunch of bullies because after all these people got in, that we are a bunch of bullies. And apparently that post-election, the protests that occurred, that was all our fault. And we actually, what was the word he used? He said that we threatened, that candidates felt threatened by Cayman Mall Road during the post-election protests, implying that had it not been for the protests, I guess, that these independents would have stayed with the progressives. Yay, people power. Go. You, the people, made that happen. And he goes on to claim that this is an impingement upon the choices that MPs have to make, and it is just wrong. That's a quote from Alden. It's an impingement on the choices they have to make, and it's just wrong. And it should never be allowed to happen again. Well, you know what I was thinking to myself? You know what should never be allowed to happen again? All these backdoor deals. We need to have candidates that if they claim that they're independent, the people should feel confident that they're actually running as an independent and not running as a closeted progressives member or progressives wannabe alliance member. That is what should never happen again, Alden. But despite your shenanigans, the people still spoke. And of course they say, oh, you know, at the end of the day, we got everybody back in. So that they're claiming that as a victory. And that is, you know, what the people wanted in terms of returning them. Well, not quite so much so, because you may have gotten people back in, but you also didn't get anybody else elected that was running with you. And there are people who didn't get back in who are running with your alliance. So if you look at it from that holistic appearance, that's, you know, painting like half of the picture and then saying, well, here's the full picture. Well, that's not the full picture. Your version of the fact that, oh, all of the progressives got back in, your core group got back in, but you running with people like Austin, like Frank, he was a progressives member, and who else? Whoever was part of the alliance, those people didn't actually, you know, nobody else got back in, basically. Alva Saku. And in fact, the fact that those people decided to join the progressives alliance after claiming at some point that they were independents, I'm telling you unequivocally, hurt them. There might have been other things, but without a doubt, that definitely hurt them. So poor Alden, still caught up in his feelings, still crying over the election. Yes, Effie, I did notice that he had on his premiership ring. Did anybody else notice that big bling? It looked a little tight, though. I'm like, was Alden retaining water? Because that ring looked a little bit tight on his finger. I think it just gets so big, like you don't see anything else. But I did notice that. And I thought, you know, Alden, sometimes I have to really laugh at the man because the ridiculousness is like oozing out of him at a very different level. So anyway, Crimea River. Looks like he's had a little bit of help with the graphics. Did anyone notice the graphics at the beginning where it's like all these sparkles and it's like progressives? I'm thinking, oh my God. Anywho, it was nice of them to finally have a post-election press conference. Of course, their staunch supporters were there. People like Christine and others. Cheryl's came out and says, great press conference. I'm sitting there shaking my head like, you people have got to be kidding me. I mean, honestly. So at times, the expression on Alden's face said all that we needed to know. And I must tell you that I was kind of chuckling here and there when I saw that sourpuss look. In fact, did anyone pay attention? Now, you guys know I told you I love to people watch. And so I look at people's facial expressions a lot. And I know y'all be watching mine. And I'd be like rolling my eyes and just like, give me a break here. But did anyone notice that when Wendy started asking the questions, the facial expressions were like, why is this woman even here? You can tell that they cannot stand Wendy. But despite that, she's, I guess, the lesser of the two evils. So they're going to still invite her as opposed to inviting me, which is just so funny. But let me show you. I'm going to show you what he did because I think it was so hilarious the way that Alden was looking, kind of like. That look in his face just had me going. I was like, Okay, let's just dissect Alden just a tad bit here. I'm not going to do audio on it because I just want to show you the screen. Okay, here we go. Look at, I'm going to fast forward it, child. They were doing all kind of stuff. So this is when the new opposition leader was yakety yakking, reading his statement, and they all had it in front of him because there's Joey looking at his and reading along. Look at Alden. He's like, I don't care what y'all doing right now. I just love my ring. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to make this go full screen here. There we go. All right. So, oops. Yes, we're going to mute that. All right. So look at Alden now. When does Wendy start? So he's still reading, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Look at Alden. Look at his eyes. Anybody else noticing these facial? He starts biting his lip. He's like, if this woman don't leave me alone, I'm going to start cussing her out. He's biting his lip and he's giving her that look, kind of rolling the eyes a little bit. Poor Barbara. She's in la la land as usual. Only God knows what she's over there thinking about. Donkey on the edge there. He looks like he was kind of paying attention. And Joey is very much interested in the phone. Everybody see him on his phone, scrolling through those messages. That's somebody telling him right now during the live stream, Joey, you're the only one who looks like you got any sense on that panel. And so Joey's like, yes. Let me twiddle my fingers because I don't quite know how to respond to this one. And then there's Alden. Look at the ring. Everybody see that bling of a ring? Humongous ring. Yes, child. And he's looking at Wendy like, girl, if you don't sit down, I'm going to take my water bottle and pelt it in your direction. But you got to keep looking at his facial expressions because they get more and more interesting as the press conference goes along and he's responding to Wendy. Yes, child. He's like, okay, will you hurry up and hush because I didn't give you permission to say all this. It's going to be my turn here in a second. Let me jump in. And he starts to giggle. He starts laughing. And he's looking at his little girlfriend there, Barbara to the side. And she starts laughing too. They all have a moment. Joey's writing something down. He's like, I'm not paying these fools no mind. I'm just going through my phone. Yep. Writing down some notes from my phone. Somebody just gave me a good little tip. And then he got that head cocked to the side. Like, you cannot be serious right now. Are you really asking me that question, Wendy? Really? Wendy. Anywho, the man is he is definitely in denial about the real facts of what went down during the election. To me, it is so interesting that he cannot admit that, number one, you lost fair and square. Number two, the people spoke loudly and they did not speak in favor of your government. You did not have a majority. They're still claiming that, yes, they would have had it had the independents they've been working with not flipped. And then to blame CMR for the position that you now find yourselves in, take some accountability. I mean, I think it was, I don't know if it was Joey, but somebody said, one of the lessons, because they were also asked, well, what have you learned from the election? Have you learned anything? Well, apparently the only thing he learned is that CMR was a force to be reckoned with. And that seems to have been news to him. Poor thing. That means he was woefully misinformed, ill-informed, whatever, going into the election. But then I think it might have been either Mr. McTaggart or Joey that said, another takeaway from this is the fact that they need to rebuild the party. Really? You think that that's a takeaway? In all honesty, your party is on its way out. And thank God for that, because from what we've seen, we don't need you to rebuild nothing with the progressives. We need you to tear it down, burn it down. The entire government should do so. Good morning, Dr. Frank. Shannon says, just like how the government bullied us into having a new port. Yes, indeed. The irony of it. And as I've said before in this program, we were in the past protesting with the progressives on behalf of issues as part of their membership. And it's funny how they didn't see that as threats. He says at least two members, two independents felt threatened and they were in fear. I was like, really? Are you kidding me? These people walk around like not a care in the world. They're not in fear of anything. But you see, pushing this narrative, which I'm really saddened that that he's gotten into the governor's ear on this. Because again, the governor doesn't always have a pulse on what's happening in this community. I'm sure he thinks he does. But I'm also pretty sure that the governor does not even have a Caymanian working in his office to be able to tell him, listen, this is how Caymanians are feeling right now. So he relies on whoever to clue him in. And I, have some contact with people in the governor's office. And sometimes I will message them and say, hey, this is the reality of what's happening on the ground. You need to let the governor know. Now, I don't know how that's conveyed because, here we tell it to you, it's a cold, hard truth. But I suspect, based on the governor's comments, even at the prayer breakfast the other day, that Alden has gotten in his head and he's believing what Alden is saying. Oh, this was a threat to national security. Look at CMR. The only threat is that these individuals actually thought that they could sell the people down the river and that there'd be no consequences for their actions. To me, that is the most shocking thing. And it certainly shows how little some representatives respect the people and the wishes of the people. So that alone, right? Your dishonesty through the election process, your dishonesty and duplicitousness after the election process says a lot about the candidates. They should be fearful of the voters come 2025. That's what they should be fearful of. The same voters who, when they go to the polls, are going to go, I remember what you did last time and you ain't getting in this time. That's where the fear should lie. CMR never threatened anybody. Did we express in very strong terms our disappointment on behalf of the people of this country? Absolutely. Yes, we did. Did we express that you all, some of you, when I say you all, you know who I'm talking about, that you are turncoats, that you can be easily bought? Did I ask the question, what was your price? Yes, I did. And yet none of that should make you feel threatened in any way, unless you are just threatened by the cold, hard truth. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Some people feel threatened by the truth because they live a lie. And so maybe that's what the premier is really referring to. Shannon says he's obsessed with that ring, yet he's missing his own wedding ring, which I've never seen him wear. That's the ring he should be obsessed with. Such a narcissist. Woo! Yeah, I don't think he wears a wedding ring, Miss Morna. And probably with good reason, because, Colombian girlfriends don't probably like you wearing rings. I'm just saying, especially when they're having babies and stuff like that for people. That's the crazy hypothetical world that we live in, that these things can happen right under our noses. And it's just like, no big deal, K-Man. Business as usual. But yet he wants to talk about people's hypocrisy. Let's get into that conversation now. So then he decided to take a turn on Wayne Panton, calling Wayne Panton a hypocrite. I was just like, Alden, you are, as Aunt Lottie would say, you are going from bad to worse. Seriously. Why are you so upset? The election's over. Get over it. But we know he's in his feelings, and that's why he hasn't been showing up to anything. The prayer breakfast, I think the only person that was there of this group was Mr. McTaggart, because he had to speak. Juliana was there. I didn't see Barbara. I didn't see Alden. I didn't see Joey. I definitely didn't see Dwayne Seymour because it's hard to miss him or not miss him. if he's there. Like, he really stands out. I didn't see him. So where were they exactly? They were all MIA because they're still caught up in their feelings. And Alden is still trying to recover from the fact that he actually lost an election. Lost in the sense that his progressives government doesn't get in. So, of course, he couldn't let the moment pass of pettiness before he had to go at Wayne Panton, his former political ally. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron says we bring the fun back in Cayman politics. Cara says he's forcing a little laugh to get his mind off of his constipation. No, like, legit, you need to go and watch his facial expressions, because I was just like, no, Alden, he is shady for a man, like, really, especially for a politician. Shannon says it's never on. If I was married to him, I'd snitch the you-know-what to his finger about premiering. Oh, she'd stitch it to his finger. Girl, that ain't gonna help. You can't stitch a ring to a man's finger and think that that's going to make him loyal to you. There were rumors that a divorce might have actually been very much in his future until someone got a new car or something and decided to just, well, if you're going to buy me a BMW or Benz or whatever it is, then Audi, whatever, then maybe I'll stay around a little bit longer for the goods, I guess. I don't know what else is going on there that would make a woman want to stay. I did notice with interest, did anybody else notice that during the swearing-in ceremony, his wife wasn't there to support him, nor were any of his children or family members? It is a bit strange because, I mean, you're still getting sworn in, despite the fact that you're not in the leadership position. You know, you would think the people that love and support you in your life would still be there, right? That's all I'm saying on that. They were not there. Anywho, he then goes on to talk about the leader of the premier, Mr. Wayne Panton. And he says that the premier is a hypocrite. Now, this I want you guys to listen to in his own words. So permit me to bring that session back. And I want you to listen to what he actually says about Mr. Panton. Let's cue the volume.
Well, I mean, I think
Now, I cannot hear this. Can you guys hear this?
And we would welcome.
I swear I can never hear what's going on.
Necessarily put the
Okay, so let me let me just say this. I'm hoping that you guys can hear it, right? You can hear what's being said. Something weird is going on with my speakers. Like, they keep I don't know, like sometimes I can't actually hear it. Can't hear it. So you can't hear it either. All right, hold on one second. Let me see what's going on here. All right, let me try it again. All right, okay. I think I got it back. Hold on. Let me back up. So the question here really was about what lessons have been learned, right? So now this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because the leader of the opposition, Mr. McTaggart, does answer the question. I'm going to come back with audio. And he says, yes, you know, the lesson that they took away from losing the election, basically, and not being able to hold on to the power, is that they need more members. And I'm sitting there going, that's the takeaway? Oh, yes. And that they need to run a full slate of candidates throughout the island. Well, you just admitted, basically, to running, which Alden talks about here in a second, for undercover candidates. So you pretty much had a good slate if you included all of the known alliance members and then independent candidates. But you see, they didn't say where the independent candidates were running, because some of you have speculated that some of those individuals are actually running against alliance members. So in other words, they were hedging their bets. Maybe. So in one district, it's possible that they were trying to buy out more than one. And that is the reason why the actual independents couldn't come forward and say, yes, I'm running with the progressives, because then maybe people like Austin would have been like, wait a minute, how am I on your platform? But then this other person is claiming that they're running with you as well. It's hard to be honest in politics when you're so duplicitous. I'm just saying, like, that don't make no sense. But anyway, the leader of the opposition leader does answer it. And then listen to what little Dwayne does here. Dwayne, what's his name? Dwayne Seymour. Yeah, sorry. Listen to what Dwayne does. He kind of chuckles as though he was half paying attention. The other most interesting thing here, which we've asked this question before, Juliana O'Connor Connolly has not resigned as a progressive member. So, of course, good for Wendy. She had to ask that question as well. So listen up, folks.
That's possible.
Talking of party, it always has been an issue with the party be independents, and you perhaps suffered the most from it at this election, being the only clearly defined group facing almost the point of where the independents came together as another party, despite not having the same platform. Do you feel it's now time to really emphasize parties, and perhaps for Mr. Seymour to join the PPM and remove this grey area of where people's loyalties actually lie?
Well, I mean, I think that the progressives we would always welcome, and we would welcome. They not necessarily put the Seymour in a pressure, but we would welcome him as a member of the progressives family, and others as well of the independents who did not necessarily, did not win a seat. We're always seeking new membership, new blood, and we would welcome new members.
Mr. Seymour?
Well, thank you. Obviously, I ran on the platform that the constituents of Gordon Town East approved for me back in 2017, and hence the reason why I'm still here. This is what they approved me to do, to align with the progressives, and the reason why I'm still here as a part of this group in the opposition. Many may have said that I had opportunities to join the independents, and that I should have moved away and joined the independents when they called on me to do so privately. But I say to them that we always, as a group, had most of the negotiations after the election. We always had 9. They had 8, and then there was a group that had 2. So that the negotiations took place straight up until the day before swearing in. And obviously the independents, they formed the government by putting more together than we could. And of course, I would have loved to be a minister and continue the good works that this alliance and the progressives were doing. But this is politics, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The opposition role, as we investigate it now in terms of the Constitution and otherwise, has a very important role, and we hope to play that as best as we can. We're not going to be, or certainly me, I'm not going to be opposing for opposing's sake. If something is good for the country, I will go along with it. I don't think that anyone wakes up at any morning saying, I want to destroy the Cayman Islands.
Oh, now let me just stop right there for a minute. I'm really glad that Mr. What's his name here? Mr. Dwayne Seymour actually said that he is going to support initiatives that are good for the country, irrespective or regardless of who brings them forward. He also says that he doesn't think that people really get up in the morning and say, oh, they're trying to destroy the country. I agree with him that that's not what they're probably saying, but what they are saying is that, it's all about me, 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 me. Let me lie in my pockets. Let me get these side contracts. Let me do all these deals. Let us continue, because I do want you to listen further. So he's saying he hasn't joined the progressives. Wendy points it out. Very, very interesting. And she said, yeah, his volume is a little bit low. I'm sorry, but he was just speaking really low. But basically, she's like, after she asked the question, she turns to him and say, well, what about it? And he said, well, the people voted me in because they wanted me to be with the progressives and to continue the work that I've started with them. Okay. That's his interpretation of why the people reelected him.
And I think that we're all fine 19 members who have sacrificed ourselves to represent this country, because it is a sacrifice. And that's really my position.
I just clarify that that's a no on you joining the progressives.
That's not a no. I will be led by my constituency, as I did before. If I did anything other than go to them first, but I must say this is the place where they told me to be, and they haven't told me not to be here yet. so
Okay.
I'm working for them.
All right, folks. So Cameron, that is not me zooming in. That is whoever they had manning their camera. And the audio is low because it was low during the actual press conference. So again, he's just saying that basically he's here because the people voted him in, and he believes that the people want him to continue working with the progressives, but he hasn't joined the Progressives Party. Join up, man. What's the big deal at this point?
And whatever they tell me, if they tell me I got to move, then that's what I have to do. But they haven't said so. They seem very comfortable.
And as usual, he talks way past anything relevant that he had to say. So he's answered the question, and Wendy's trying to give him a clue that, okay, you've answered the question. We get the point. When she says, thank you. Yep. Okay, thank you. And he's still talking.
Whatever with the decision I made.
Can I ask you all, there was a lot of allegations made post election day that there was pressure coming from, misinformation coming between the two groups that were negotiating, but also, more importantly, pressure came from donors, and it was certainly implied that the donors were your donors, that they were your supporters that were putting pressure on the independents to break the original 10. So can you speak to that and confirm or deny whether you feel that any of your supporters or donors were involved in skullduggery behind the scenes?
Well, I'm surprised that you say that the inference was that the pressure was coming from our end. In fact, we know the converse to be true. We had arrangements with not one, not two, but 4 independents. We assisted them, some of them financially. We assisted them with political advice. And we assisted them by endorsements. So something transpired in the last week or so of the election campaign, because what occurred on election night with most of the independents going into a meeting with Mr. Panton, that plot was not hatched overnight. And so we were blindsided in that respect. So, of course, various people who give support to candidates will call and say, this is the condition on which I supported you financially or otherwise. Mm-hmm. You said you want to work with this group or not want to work with that person, and you've gone back on your word. So I'm sure a lot of that went on from both sides. That is, those people who support.
All right, so let me just point out something that he's talking about here. Yes, he says that he has assisted them financially. That's very, very interesting. Again, there are rumors of some serious money having been floated around during the election. They have a campaign spend obviously, of that $40,000, that cap. But what ends up happening is this is money that goes into the envelopes, then goes into the hands of people in the community, right? So you're not going to see the paper trail with this money. This is cash donations. This is, oh, I'm going to buy you some marl for your yard. That's not the sort of thing that they declare with the elections office. But isn't it most interesting? Yes, he admits to having, not, like you said, not one, not two, but 4 independents, double agents. And he also says that it is normal that when you fund someone's campaign, that at some point you are going to come calling on them to say, now I'm here to collect. So folks, if you're an independent candidate and you're getting financial assistance from the progressives, or probably anybody else for that matter, it comes with a price to pay. And Mr. McLaughlin has just said that to the entire country, that yes, that is normal. That the donors are going to come and say, well, we donated to you on the basis that you said X, Y, and Z. Now, we told you early on that there were some strong rumors about Isaac, and that's why he was meeting with Alden, and there were photos of that meeting. Isaac swore up and down that that wasn't the case, but he was hell-bent on forming or working with anyone to form the government. But it seems like some serious, money must have traded hands between Isaac, this financial support that now Mr. McLaughlin is talking about, between Isaac and the progressives, for him to, even when he had the opportunity to form a government and still get East End, potentially a ministerial position, he still ran to the progressives. That power that they had over him speaks volumes, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys are interpreting this, but that speaks volumes to probably what sort of financial support we are talking about here. And like I said, the rumors run the gamut. I saw a couple of your comments, by the way, about his personal life. Now, listen to me. Let me be very, very clear about the personal lives of politicians in general. They run on the basis oftentimes of being Christian, being family men. They have their wives there next to them when it is convenient for them to do so. So you can't tell me that as voters in this country that you don't want the cold hard truth when it comes to even their personal lives. Yes, everybody's got a personal life, and there's some that are a little bit more interesting than others. But you wouldn't want to know if your leadership in this country is duplicitous, not just politically, but even in their personal lives. Because I'm sorry, but if you can't be loyal to your wife of 30, 40 years, you ain't going to be loyal to the people of the Cayman Islands either, probably. And if you're out there doing the most, getting this one pregnant, that one pregnant, paying people off, sending them back home, and doing all this sort of stuff, we're not going to sit here and write an entire book about it. But I do believe that all of those details do become relevant at some point. And people are talking about it. We're here to talk about what people are talking about in this community. And if you think people are not talking about which one got the Colombian pregnant, which one during the election had their girlfriend dropping photos of their private parts and getting upset because she wanted a boob job and a certain minister wasn't able or wasn't willing to pay for the boob job at that particular time. And so she was going to release videos on him and complaining about his parts are small. If you don't think that these things actually play into the election cycle and the election process, then you better think again. The same money y'all complaining about, well, he don't do nothing in his community. He doesn't support the community. He can't afford to support anything in the community because he's got 5 or 6 women. And I'm just hypothetically speaking here now, but you can take it any way you want. Some of these jokers have 5 or 6 women that they're trying to maintain at one time. That's the reality of their lives. So I'm only giving y'all a snippet of what goes on in the community, what's being discussed, even amongst these politicians themselves. And you can take it or leave it. Rest assured that I'm really not digging that deep into their personal lives, because if I was, and we wanted to talk about the broken collarbones and the abuse of the wives and all this other stuff, y'all really wouldn't be ready for that kind of discussion here this morning. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Anyway, let's continue to listen to Alden, because now this is where it gets very, very interesting.
Supported the progressives and those people who supported independence. What we saw rear its ugly face for the first time in Cayman's political history that I'm aware was the bullying by certain media houses of candidates, and in fact going as far as to go to Isaac Rankin's house in East End and taunt and threaten him. That is something that I hope.
All right, so let me stop right then and right there. Where is Cece this morning? You guys are able to go back and view the footage for yourself because it was live. No one at any point in time threatened this man. That was a peaceful protest. Yes, there were times when it got a little bit heated in terms of when his supporters started insulting some of the protesters. Well, you know, Caymanians, they're out enough of them. Yes, so there were times when they were like, listen, you're not going to insult me and call me ugly and call me fat when you only have like 3 teeth in your mouth. So yes, did that happen? Absolutely. Did anyone threaten anyone? Was there any fear of violence? Please. People were laughing and having a jolly good time. You know, we had a couple interesting discussions with the police officers on site, but even them, I'm telling you, some of them were giving us the thumbs up. They were like, you people do what you got to do. We're just here to keep the peace. If there is a breach, you know, we don't want that to happen. But there was never any intent of breaching the peace, and no one even came close to that. So now we see Mr. McLaughlin here trying to rewrite what has happened and just make stuff up, basically, bold-faced lie about how, oh, there were threats made to Mr. Isaac. We protested outside of his house, sir. There were tons of people there. Most people had nothing whatsoever to say, and there were no threats. In fact, all we were saying, the chanting really, is that the people have voted in the independence and we want an independent government. And that we were sick and tired of the progressives and we wanted no more progressives-led government. Gabby says he grieves my soul, I swear. Yes. So we were live. Go look at it for yourself. This man not easy. But this is what he does on a regular basis. He believes that he can just make stuff up. And if he says so, then it must be so. Really, Joker. He should try being honest for a change. Let's continue. Listen to the BS.
We never see again, because I've been through, this is 8 political campaigns and the 6th as a candidate. I've never seen that sort of thing occur in the aftermath of an election, even in the roughest times of trying to put governments together, including the one, my first time being elected in 2000, when we had a very difficult job of trying to put together a government, which only lasted a year. But,
oh, yes. Was that the government that was formed over the turtle, the stew turtle at Kurt Tippett's house? If my memory serves me correctly, that's probably the one that he was talking about. Boy, I heard that turtle dinner was good, you know, but they never offered me any. And I was right there with the progressives. I still never got. Anyway, listen here, folks. Alden's a sore loser. You need to get over it, my friend. Oh, he's never seen anything like this. Well, you know, this isn't 2000. This is some 21 years later. This isn't 2017. This is 4 years later. The people have found their voices and they are exercising that right. And if they do so through a peaceful protest, well, you might not have been ready for that reality. But it seems to me that the country was ready and the people have now gotten what they wanted. This man is so petty. He redefines petty. Alden says, if taking a beating was a person, cough, Alden, cough. Yes, this is the face of a sore loser. This is the face of a man who, even after losing and doing everything in his power, Let me tell you what Alden was doing. Now, you know, we're here to speak the truth and shame the devil, right? So he had people like the chairman of Miss Cayman Committee, bless Deary's little heart, calling everybody, all the independents. She had them on speed dial. Everybody. Andre, Sabrina, Kenneth, even Kenneth, as bad as they've done Kenneth, they were still calling him too. So we saw Minister Seymour former Minister Seymour talking about, oh, how they were calling him. Nobody wasn't calling you Bobo. You would have been the last person they would have called. Let's be honest now. You would have been down on the totem pole. Now, the truth of the matter is, Mr. Panton was not completely against the idea of incorporating some of the progressive members into this government that he has now, this PAC government. But do you know that their definition of incorporation, them being the progressives, was that they would take the premiership and bring along 4 individuals as ministers? And Wayne was like, say what? We don't need all those people. And we would give you that because of what exactly? So they wanted Wayne, they were still, you know, he's talking about Wayne as a hypocrite. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But the real hypocrite is them. Because like Dwayne Seymour said, up until the day before swearing in, they were still trying to work something out. And they were telling, oh, we'll take the premiership. Thank you very much, Mr. Panton. We'll take the premiership and bring 4 ministers along to work with you. They were still acting as though they were the ones in the position of power. And Wayne was like, you people don't get it, man. You guys are delusional. And this continues to show their level of delusionalism, if that's a word. They are just like on crack. This is like political crack, right? So Mr. Alden claims that he's never seen people power before. That's basically what he's saying. I've never seen it before in all of my 8 election cycles. Well, you know, things change, sir, with all due respect. Things change, and it's only a matter of time before you too will be voted out. You better think about what you're doing next time. Hats off to Sammy. Sammy did, he had a good first run, very valiant effort. And I hope that Sammy comes back for round 2. Works the next 4 years and removes Alden from power. It can be done because right now the man is still up in his feelings. He's not even showing up to anything. But during the swearing in ceremony, do you all know that Alden did not even want to congratulate the premier? How low do you go? How unprofessional is that really? Everybody deserves congratulations. But oh no, he was up in his feelings. He could barely muster at the very end of the night. Yeah, okay, you finally got it, kind of thing, you know? Let's continue listening to his little shenanigans, shall we?
But I saw public meetings and that sort of thing, but I've never seen that level of intimidation, particularly by some in the media. It is something that ought to be discouraged because it's not good for Cayman, and it's actually, I believe, an impingement upon the choices that elected representatives or candidates elect, members elect, have to make, and it's just wrong. So thankfully, there was no violence, although there was real threats of that at some point. Certainly people I know have felt real fear that bad things that were going to happen to them if they did or didn't do certain things. I know 2 of the independent candidates who expressed.
All right, so let's be very clear here, folks. The only bad things that was going to happen to anybody is that they weren't going to get voted back in, which it may still happen come 2025, and that they were going to sit in opposition or on the back bench. What kind of bad things is this man talking about? I mean, this man is so delusional. I just cannot believe that this is where it's at. I cannot believe that this is what rhetoric this man. He's such a liar. Look, he can't even keep his eyes open as he's lying. Right? Look at the face. You know, I can't believe that this is the narrative that he is trying to put forward. Oh my gosh. Carson, I can't even read that comment. I'm going to let people read it for themselves. I had someone in one of the government agencies said to me yesterday, Miss Sandra, we love your show and we put it on in the reception area so other people can listen. But sometimes they're like old people listening, so you got to watch the words, the profanity. So I'm going to let y'all read that comment for yourself. Old people, if you can't see with your glasses, then don't worry about it. But I'm not going to be repeating that P word. But y'all can imagine somebody said he is the real something, 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 straight up. Anyway, yes, so this narrative about, people are so afraid. How can you be afraid? This is the exact same thing I was saying about Isaac. Oh, now Isaac not address the people. You have realized that, right? But how can you be afraid of the people that have voted you in? All the people wanted was just like what they wanted with Sabrina, was to hear from you. And he did not have the balls or the audacity, as the case may be, to simply get up and speak to the people. And you guys, Omar, I can't even with you. The more people got drop dead in the reception area if I say that. I mean, let us be very, very honest here, right? I cannot even fathom how his niece, a young lady, came out, participated with the protests in terms of like she expressed herself. We talked with her. We actually had a very, very good conversation. And Isaac was still hiding up in that house. What a shame. I still can't get over Isaac. I'm still like, every time I see him, he can't even look me in the face anymore. And he kind of walks the other way. And you know me, I'm just like, But I go out of my way. I say, good morning, Isaac. And he kind of musters, yes, good morning to you. We're past that now, honey. Get over it. We're all about trying to make this the best possible country. Don't be up in your feelings, honey, because I've moved on and you need to move on too. Omar says, well, his face does resemble a mashup. Oh my God, JJ, you need to behave yourself, Omar, because what you know about that.
That fear that something bad would happen to them if they didn't do what Mar Road and others were advocating that they should do. That is become part of a government of independence rather than join with the progressives. Now, the jury is still very, very much out on whether this government can last. We'll see. I certainly do not wish them not to, because that sort of uncertainty is not good for our economy, and we're going through enough challenges as it is. But I know full well what can happen in these things. As I said, when I was first elected in 2000, the government that was cobbled together then lasted 1 year before it fell apart. In my first term as premier, I lost 3 members, and in my last term, I lost 1. So it is very difficult to keep a group of politicians together, particularly as is the case with the pact government, where they have no common platform, no cohesive set of policies or programs, and most of them are highly inexperienced. But let us pray for the best and for the continued good governance and prosperity of these acts.
All right, he's talking about inexperience. Cece, good morning and welcome to the discussion, girl. What's up?
Good morning. I swear, Sandy, I didn't need help, because he's here sitting down wanting people to feel sorry for him. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't he the same one on stage singing with this tight ass pants on that he couldn't even breathe in? Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead.
Yes, cry me a river. Yes, the man is still up in his feelings about this, and I'm just sitting here. I agree with you. I'm like, dude, just get over it. Get over it. Now let's read a few of the comments. I see a comment here in a few minutes. Okay, so let's just read a few comments here. Okay. All right, so here's a few. This person says Alden is a narcissistic pig. He believes in God, toting a. We can't use that word. He believes he is God, toting a golden D. Let me allow you to figure out what that could possibly be. By the way, folks, there has been an accident this morning after 8 o'clock on Fountain Road in West Bay, right by the primary school. Someone on their bicycle looked like they got ran over by a car. I don't know how serious their injuries are yet, but we will post some photos here about this on Facebook, and we will wait for some further updates. But let me read some other comments, and then I want you to tell us what you think here, Cindy, about this whole idea that Alden quite hasn't gotten in his head, that the voters who've elected him are the real people in power. Like, he always thinks it's him. He's the PIP. And he clearly did not understand that what they did in 2017, this time around, was not going to be repeated. And yes, CMR played a pivotal role in the election results. We will take credit for that. Thank you very much, sir. But so what? We only help to give the people a voice and to galvanize their voice. Now, here are some interesting comments that came through yesterday once we posted the story about him claiming that media threatened independents, forcing them to join PAC. One person says, he is so bitter, sad thing, poor Alden. Another person said, those are some serious allegations there, not just sour grapes. One person rolled their eyes and said, girl, I don't know why he don't just go sit down. Just got to be seen. I didn't even know they were having it, so I didn't watch it. I'm sure I didn't miss a thing, referring to their press conference. He not got anything to say that I want to hear. Another person said, so Sandy, the way Alden's spouting out excuses, him behave like he want to accuse CMR of some sort of capital-like insurrection. Like him say, CMR actually dictated and formed the government. Him showing that him and not McTaggy is the one calling the shots, as everyone could see long time. Another one says, so sad, Alden, those sour grapes are real sour. I do, however, wish that he kept my friend. Oh, that means Juliana. They didn't want PAC to pick her up. But anyway, somebody else says, he's so bitter, sad thing, poor Alden. Let me see what other comments we have. Okay. Somebody else said, so CMR was the problem. Any mention of how PPM and their financial backers tried to bribe MPs to join the PPM-led alliance? ? FYI, you and CMR have now reached #legend status if they really believe what they said. Actually, it was bad enough for them to say or to blame it on CMR #politics. And he has proven himself yet again to be a hypocrite, liar, and a coward. What do you think? Cece.
If Alden shown anything to prove anything to anyone, is that he's very selfish. He is very selfish. He's self-centered. He likes being the spotlight. He likes being in control. And he need to remember, each 4 years, it is in fact the people that vote him in. Now, I don't know who it is voting him in, but y'all are some serious delusional people. Like, think about it. This man have been in politics for so many years. Caymanians still unemployed. Caymanians still shortage of homes. You understand? Foreigners are getting the better opportunities over Caymanians. Like, if, for example, someone have the same experience and qualifications for a position, the white person going to get $30 per hour, but they won't give Caymanians $10 per hour, and they're going to still approve a permit for the $30 per hour. Come on, like, who can work for those things? Alden really need to accept defeat. He needs to just wash some of that gel off of his head, because it's getting ridiculous now. And let his pores breathe, because clearly it clogged up by all that gel. He got slicked back on top of his head. And open up a few buttons of your shirt and breathe, sir. The people have spoken. This is what we want. No one was threatened. Not one of those independents were threatened. They should be ashamed of themselves. You know why? Because not only did they jump ships, but they knew their intentions from the jump, that they wanted money. That's all it was. Money. More money. You cannot run for politics thinking how much money you can get. That is not why you're running. You're running to pave a way for your people to help themselves, to put your people in a position to win so that your people would not need government assistance, would not need NAU. You understand? But that is what they always try to hold. They always try to keep Caymanians in this little corner that they will always need government. You understand? Instead of rather than putting them in a position to help themselves. I hate to see them crackheads in drug addicts wearing PPM shirts. Like, look here, how much you think they paid them to get that little vote? One little food, one little shirt, one little shoes. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
We deserve so much more. Alden just needs to just be quiet. With all due respect, just be quiet.
For real. All right, let's hear what he says about inexperienced people, and then I want to get your take on this as well, because basically he says one of the reasons why he has concerns that this government will fail is because they are so incredibly inexperienced. Now, while he's talking about the fact that we were protesting on the streets trying to hold elected members accountable, what he doesn't say is how his double agent secretaries were in the background calling people who, I mean, I don't know why they'd be calling people like Brian, whoever else, trying to get them to flip, but they were on the phone hard trying to get people to flip and trying to give them reasons, I guess, why they should be forming a government with the progressives. Someone just asked the question. Julie says, wonder if they have to give back all of that under the table money they took to have those millions of $1 million projects pass. Well, I think that I don't know the answer to that. And Valdine says, who has experience? See, this is why Caymanians can't get any jobs.
This is, I don't mean to cut you, but this is why I actually joined the show. Let me be clear, and I'm going to say exactly what I mean.
Let's listen to what he says first. Let's listen to what he says first.
Silence.
Thanks for that. I've just got one final question, which is pretty specific. It's just a speculative thing that's been going around that I've been trying to get some clarification on. When you were minister, Mr. Hugh, was there?
Oh, right. I think, did we miss it already about the experience? I want to talk about Joey's next question here in a second. But Cece, when people tell you, oh, well, this politician don't have no experience, what's your take on it? When did any of them actually have experience?
None of them went into politics with experience. With time, they learned. With time, they got to know the ropes in the procedures of running these ministries. Nobody came with experience. You understand? So Alden, again, he's very selfish, very self-centered, and very disgusting to sit up there and boldly say that they don't have no experience. If it was ever for the best interest of my people, the Caymanians, the Cayman Islands, or the sister islands, if any of their hearts were for the best interest of the people, they would have volunteered by coming forward to say, you know what, congratulations on your new ministries. I would be more than happy to guide you through and show you the ropes of dealing with these ministries. No, exactly what Carson said. They want to be PHs and sit back and watch these independents figure it out on their own. But no worries. Everybody had to start somewhere. They're going to figure it out one way or another.
Right.
You understand? Yeah. So he really shown the people how low.
And I mean, the thing about it too, Cece, that I find interesting about this comment about, oh, they have no experience. All right, let's just look at the ones that are on that stage right now, talk about they have no experience. So somebody said, where's David? Apparently David is overseas helping someone, they said, with a medical condition. They did announce that. And Mr. Moses couldn't make it. He probably got his feet kicked up on the back under a tree with a hammock. But they talk about people experience. Let's take Barbara, for example. Barbara has been an MP now. She was a counselor during the last election. We saw Barbara's performance during the debates. Anybody actually think that Barbara looked like somebody who's got experience, or that she conducted herself like someone who has experience?
A big inexperience on top of her report.
I mean, she got a failing grade even after being in there for 4 years. So how do you exactly get this experience that they're talking about? Like, I'm still trying to figure this out.
Exactly.
Where's the experience?
Honestly, who know me? Who know me? Know I love John John. John
Yeah.
John, you cannot hate the guy. Honestly, you know, give him his credit where it's due. I love the guy, but I don't think you experience either. But hey, he got a seat. You understand?
Yes.
How can you?
And I mean, let's be quite frank about John John. Not only does he not have the experience, half the time the man can barely talk, but the people still love him. So does
Exactly.
the experience really have anything to do with it? You know, I'm just like, of course we want ministers who we feel like, okay, they can represent the people, they can do a decent job, et cetera, et cetera. But that's why they have qualified civil servants, because in fact, they're the people. The ministers collectively might try to set policy, but it's the civil service or the civil servants who are advising them most of the time on what direction they should be taken, and they can take the advice or not. And then it is a matter for the civil service to also deploy it. The ministers are like the president of the United States a lot of times. He's just there to look cute. He's just a figurehead, right? If he listens to the experts, it does not really matter what sort of experience he's coming in with. Now, would we love to have, you know, some people who've had like business experience, et cetera? Yeah, I think that those things help.
It does help.
Yeah, it helps to have people who know how to talk. Even.
That was really upsets me with Caymanians. Also, Caymanians are very small-minded. Like they seems to forget the history. Like I give credit where it's due. Alden in the PPM did a wonderful job for the pandemic. They kept us safe, whatever. I still question a lot of things, but they got an award for doing their job. What they were hired to do in the first place. That was your job. You're getting paid to do it. You understand? They're like, oh, because they did good in the pandemic and they kept us safe, they're getting my vote. Hello, what happened to the other 3 years? Were you suffering? Were you struggling? Still not got no job. You understand? Still not got run into the water. You understand? Like, how can you live off of monthly stipends from these politicians? I sure as hell can't, because I love big restaurants. I love enjoying myself, doing family time and stuff like that. I can't live stipend to stipend. I can't live off of handouts. Like, no one should ever be comfortable knowing, say, oh, when this one come, I can get my hands greased, or he always come bring me $500. Like, where is your self-esteem? Where is your pride? You're okay with taking money from these politicians, because you have their full support. If they supported you, they would give you a job. They would give you something for you not to need to depend on them.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean that's the cold hard truth, right? You know, all of the politicians have had to start from somewhere. Some may have had more experience than others. Some may have been a little bit more polished than others. You know, like we said, John John isn't the best orator in the world. He doesn't particularly speak well. He butchers other languages. He's also a businessman who has ran a business that is getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and still not paying his staff, and up to this day still owes people pension money. So what kind of experience are they looking for is what I'm wondering. Like, what sort of track record? Like, if we really, really, really broke down the credentials of some of these so-called people in office, even David White, you know, they would have been prepared to make him a minister. And what experience does he have? What experience does Juliana have after being a minister for numerous terms? Which, stick a pin there, the what's his name here, Mr. McTaggart, the leader of the opposition, actually said that he thought she's the best person for the job of being Minister of Education. I almost choked on my water when I was listening to that comment yesterday. I was like, what is he talking about? Is it for real?
It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder.
They're not even paying attention to the people. Because every single person has said Juliana has been horrible as education minister, but here's Mr. McTaggart saying she's the best person for the job. Let's continue listening as we continue to dissect. Someone just made the comment, and I did not even notice this, and I think this is where it's coming up next, talking about Wayne Panton. But someone also says that if you notice, it was Barbara that reminded him to talk about Wayne's hypocrisy. She wrote the note before he spoke on it. So I didn't even see that, but let's pay attention.
a separate development agreement made with DART about increasing the height of one of the buildings that they're in the process of building right now? That's at 5 stories that you signed off to go to 7. Are you able to confirm or deny that?
No, there was no separate.
This would have been something that didn't go through CPA.
No, I don't have that power. You wouldn't have the power as a minister.
So you made no background commitments to
No,
them?
you have,
Okay.
you can't do anything that's outside of the law. And this is, when we talk about all of the things to do with planning, the laws are very clear. The responsibilities are very defined between the Central Planning Authority, the department, and the ministry. And the minister certainly wouldn't have those sorts of authority.
All right. So let me tell you guys, in case you missed it, what this question is all about. So there is a rumor afoot that the DART organization has a building that is going up to, I believe, either 7 or 10 stories above the 5 that is currently permitted. And the rumor says that the former Minister of Planning, which is Mr. Joey Hugh, had given them some assurances that they need not worry about that if and when they are reelected and they take the government back, it would be considered a done deal. Now, the minister is responding to that. He's saying that, no, there couldn't be these backdoor deals. That's not how the process happens. They would have to go through the planning process, yada, yada, yada. I think we're all very much aware that backdoor deals happen every single day, even here in the Cayman Islands. He claims that there's no backdoor deal. We'll have to take the minister at his word for it. The rumors are in heavy circulation. So Miss Ledger, Wendy, decided to ask the question, and that's what it's about. Let's continue to hear his response.
Nor would I ever make those sorts of promises. So everything that was done in planning was done at the Legislative Assembly through the proper channels.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
I feel like I should be giving a folk concert or something. Good afternoon. Just want to ask, do you guys have any regrets about the campaign that you ran, apart from that it was unsuccessful ultimately?
Personally, I don't really. I think, we planned and we executed the campaign exactly as we wanted and as we had prepared to do. But I did not come away from it with any real regrets about what we did.
I mean, was there any particular areas that you think you should have pressed more heavily upon?
No, I think, all of the key issues that this election was about were all ventilated and I think aired very ably by all members of our team. And so I didn't come away feeling that there was anything significant in terms of that we should have or could have done.
Wow. Cindy, are you surprised that the Progressives leadership is saying that they don't think that there was anything significant that they came away from or that they learned from the election?
They are a hot mess.
So I see Barbara now writing. This must be the note that someone was referring to, where she was writing to pass something to Alden. So let's pay attention. Barbara kind of goes on the cover because normally she's not doing much, so nobody pays her any mind. Have you heard from her mouthpiece, Noel, lately? He blocked everybody, I think, so maybe he doesn't have anybody to watch him anymore. But is he still talking about the election, or has he gotten over it?
Who is that? What were we talking about?
Exactly. All right, keeping it moving.
One thing I will say is that if you look at the results of the election, we ran 8 PPM members and we won, was it 7? Frank was a 7. Yeah. 7 PPM members, myself, Mose Colonel, Julian O'Connor Connolly, Mr. McTaggart, Mr. McLaughlin, Mr. White, and Ms. Connolly, and then Mr. Frank Cornwall was 8, and we won 7 seats as PPM members out of the 8. I think if the one lesson to learn and the one thing that we have to do over the next 4 years is to continue to build the party. We certainly want to enter into the next election, if not with a full slate of candidates contesting every constituency on the three islands, we want to at least have 14 or 15 votes contested. That is our goal. That's where we will focus going over the next 4 years or over the next during this term. And if I look back, I'll say yes. Each election that I have been involved with, 2013, 2017, in the spirit of cooperation, we ran less and less party members during that election. And I think now is the time for us to go back and rebuild. And in the next election, we will be running a full slate of candidates.
The one thing I want to touch on is this. The reason for the early elections was the controversy over Mr. Bush and his assault case and his conviction. One of the greatest ironies, I think, political ironies that I've ever seen is that the current premier resigned, at least ostensibly, from the progressives on the basis that we were unprincipled. I have a long message from him on my phone, which I shall keep forever. And that as a matter of principle, we and particularly me as premier ought to have fired Mr. Bush. I explained to him, as I've explained to the country over and over again, the reasons why I did not feel I could properly and safely take that course of action during the pandemic in particular. The House was dissolved because the then opposition, including the now Deputy Premier, Chris Saunders, filed a motion seeking a resolution of no confidence in the Speaker. And rather than allow that process to play out with all of the attendant controversy and bad feelings it would involve, after consultation with my caucus, I took the decision to advise His Excellency to dissolve the House and call early elections. So the elections were called because of the controversy around Mr. Bush's assault conviction. We took a principled position in the aftermath of the elections that we would not go back into government with Mr. Bush. We sought repeatedly to be able to put together a coalition with the pact group. None of that came to fruition because Mr. Panton took the view that the prize of the premiership was worth him going back on everything he had said and done previously.
All right, stick a pin. Let's break it down. You hear what he said about the prize of the premiership? This is the point I was just saying earlier. The progressives were willing to work with PAC if they could take the premiership and give it to Mr. Roy McTaggart, which means that Alden would really be the one still getting it from the back, from behind the scenes. So when he talks about now the fact that they called an early election in order to, what is he saying in his words? In order to avoid all of the bad feelings and controversy that would have occurred. And then after the election, after calling the early election, but before the results came in, they, on a quote unquote matter of principle, decided that they would no longer work with Mr. Bush. This is where Alden really think that we a bunch of fools, yeah.
Exactly.
The reason why they took this quote unquote principled position was because during the campaign, they heard time and time again that people were still very, very upset with what Mr. Bush had done, that people were willing to hold Mr. Bush accountable. And in fact, let us not forget the reality of the situation is that Mr. Bush only maintained his seat by some 27 votes. That is unheard of for a man who's been in politics for almost 40 years to be that close to being unseated. And they could see, I guess they're not that blind, the progressives could see the writing on the wall in relation to that. So that is why they were throwing Mr. Bush under the table during the election. But if anyone is fool enough to believe that if it came down, if push came to shove, as them old people would say, and it really, really came down to it, and they had to use Mr. Bush as their
They want to
final
use
trump,
him.
they would have used him, of course.
Let me tell you something. For the whole of Cayman that didn't know, the reason why Alden couldn't dare utter the words to put together to ask McKeever to step down is because he know if McKeever came down, the whole government will coming down with him because they have dirt. They have dirt on one another. And he didn't want McKeever to expose all of that. Because you know McKeever would have started like a generator that
Yeah,
don't need no gas.
right.
You understand? So that's
Yep.
why he took the position to call an early election. And it was really
Yes.
unfair to independents because imagine independents first time running for election, preparing themselves to campaign and then having to pick up what they have and run. A lot of people issues with the independents were why they wait till now to come forward to, you understand, like to get in the communities and stuff.
Right.
They should be mindful. I said, people, Alden called the early election. What do y'all expect? They had to run and get out there to try and convince people why they would be the best candidate for the different districts. Like, come on.
Yes.
What was the point of calling an early election? They're too dirty. And see, they did all of that, knowing
Yep.
that they were going to get back in, only to warm the back bench. You polish that back bench and be quiet. You just pose, model, get a ring done to represent that back bench because this is history. I honestly feel I have nothing but love and respect for John, Joey, especially Joey. But my thing and my take will always be they are loyal to the wrong people. Alden is not.
Well, they're not loyal to the people of the Cayman Islands.
Yes, that's what
problem,
I'm
the
saying.
people that voting them in.
Yes, they are loyal to the wrong people because if it was ever in the best interest of the people, I would do what is needed to be done for my people. So forget Alden being in his little temper tantrums, his 2-year-old trouble twos, temper tantrums and all up in his feelings.
Yeah.
He gonna just have to suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah. And then the fact that he's going to now turn around and try to say that Wayne Panton is a hypocrite when they had the opportunity to actually do something about Mr. Bush, as you rightfully said, they refused to do so because they were afraid of the consequences and they were afraid of pulling their own government apart. That's political expediency if I've ever heard it. So I don't know why this is the pot calling the kettle black now, allegedly. Right? Because I don't think that that's exactly what ended up happening with Wayne. Wayne didn't have a choice, unfortunately for him. But yes, I mean, why Alden would even go down this rabbit hole to make himself look incredibly ridiculous about, oh, well, Wayne Panton is a hypocrite. And then that comment about, I've got a text message I'm going to keep forever. That sounds like a woman scoring honey. Don't say things like that on air. We don't want to hear about you keeping no text messages from Wayne Panton forever. It's like, really, Alden, how many text messages you be sending out that people might want to keep forever? Leslie says, wax on, wax off. Balika says they took a principled position not to go into the new government with Mr. Bush, but was it a principled position to stay in government with Mr. Bush and disrupt the whole government for him?
Exactly.
The bomb was dropped. Exactly what I'm saying. Let's continue listening to his ridiculousness and his shenanigans, folks.
And lo and behold, we now have Mr. Bush back as Speaker of the House, this time as part of the PACT administration. What is amazing to me is the hypocrisy that has been demonstrated by many, including some in the media, about this.
All right, let me stop right there. Because when he says some in the media, we know he only ever talking about Cayman Mall Road. He's not talking about nobody else. Let me be very clear on my position because some of y'all got it mixed up and you got it confused and you're not understanding. My position has always been and remains to this day, what Mr. Bush was wrong. There should have been consequences for his actions. He waited way too long to give a decent apology. That should have been from the beginning. He should get professional help. This should be his last term in office. Every single thing that I have said I stand by. So I want to make sure that Mr. McLaughlin understands there is no hypocrisy here. What I said before the election, I continue to say. Do I understand the necessity of what the PAC government had to do in terms of working with Mr. Bush? Yes. Have I said that, maybe we offer him a little olive branch and some degree of forgiveness in hopes that his last 4 years in office will be a way for him to redeem himself? Yes. But that doesn't change a single word that I've said. So I don't know who out there trying to call a hypocrite, but it ain't this joker. It ain't this media. But again, he will just twist the situation and twist the narrative to fit whatever he thinks that he's trying to say.
Bush
This picture.
was so despicable that he ought to have been ejected from the Speaker's chair. But now that the Progressives Alliance decided not to go back into government with him, it is seemingly perfectly acceptable for him to be back in the chair to prop up the PAC administration. If that is not hypocritical,
Shut the door.
then I don't know what could possibly be.
Or him.
Will make it
Alden just look like a blowfish.
as the opposition in the House? Are you concerned about any conflicts there?
Not at all. I have a very good personal relationship with McKeever. We spent 3 hours in a meeting with him today as part of the Parliament Management Council. We're trying to get that up and running. So this is nothing. What I'm saying is, please, no one interpret.
Here's a double speak now.
Personal issues. I am just calling the facts.
The facts are, folks, they would have done the exact same thing had they needed to use Mr. Bush. And the facts are that when they publicly threw Mr. Bush under the bus during the election because it was politically expedient for them to do so, little did they realize that Mr. Bush was like, oh, really? Okay, let's just see how this is going to play out post-election. And like Leslie just said, Mr. Bush is a whole cat. He always lands on his feet. And I tell you what, he's got the luck of the Irish. I think his luck is going to run out now, though, with 27 coming within 27 votes of losing to someone who literally declared at the 11th hour. But nonetheless, Mr. Bush is in there and he is Speaker of the House. I saw Mr. Bush at a function. I think it was Kenneth's party actually last week, Saturday. And Mr. Bush, he's still up in his feelings with me. Like he don't forgive too easily. So he could barely muster up a good evening when I said good evening, sir. And normally, in previous times, he might have given me a little hug or whatever. My dear child, he kept his hands to himself, which is okay. I don't need a hug from nobody. I'll be all right. But yes, it is what it is. When you speak the truth, you do not become friends with people. Truth tellers, yes, truth tellers are not known to have a lot of friends. And, quite frankly, I don't mind that situation. I quite like it. So somebody else said if we could share the link to join the show. Folks, let me remind you on how you can join the program. Let's cue up our little, hold on one second. Now, where's my little jingle? Here we go.
Yeah. This is the Cold Hard Truth News Podcast. Cold Hard Truth News Podcast. Come make we talk on the live broadcast. This is the Cayman #1 live talk show. Come make we talk where you go on the news.
Yes, there we go. Miss Charlene. She got the message. Hey, girl, what's up?
Hey, good morning. Good morning to our lovely host, Sandra, and the Cayman Islands.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Sandra, I am just coming on. I'm not even at home. I'm on the road. And I just couldn't let this opportunity pass without participating in this talk show this morning.
Yes.
In regards to the progressives. Cayman, I am a born Caymanian that is very frustrated, angry because of what's been taking place in our country, the Cayman Islands, under the governance of the PPM government. I am a member of many activist groups on this island. Just to name a few, member of the People for the Protection of the Smith Bacadea,
Mm-hmm.
member of the Cayman Development Watch,
Mm-hmm.
member of the CPR, which was the activist group that fought very consistently and diligently for the port not to be built,
Mm-hmm.
and also a member of Caymanians concerned about public education. Now, that's just a few. My desire to come on this morning was in regards to what is taking place in our country that was initiated on the PPM governance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in regards to Cayman development crises, because I will consider and will say and do consider it to be a development crisis. We are having, as we all know, our home, the Cayman Islands, is a very small country. I'm sitting in my car, so I'm putting on my air condition.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
Okay. It's a very small country, and
Mm-hmm.
and apparently, as we all are very well aware of, a lot of backdoor um, deals occurred during last governance, and unfortunately, a lot of those deals were in regards to development on our island. Well, yes, we need development, but what we need at present, urgently, is for our packed government and our honorable premier to step in and put a halt on development. Reason being, again, Cayman is a small country, and we have to have a recollection or a memory of what took place in 2004 when we experienced Hurricane Ivan. Our island was partially underwater. Okay? Had we not had the protection from, first and foremost, Christ our God Almighty, and secondly, our mangroves and wetlands that helped protected us, we probably wouldn't be here this morning. Well, I am urging the public to become more versed, committed, and involved in the groups, activist groups that's on this island, and also to be diligent in keeping our new government accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sandra, we have had a situation here in March,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where there was 1.41 acre of wetland
Mm.
illegally removed in
Mm-mm.
Red Bay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that fell under MP Mr. Alden McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm.
All this information is on record.
Right.
Okay? We have Mr. Gene Thompson, who is in charge of the new medical tourism project,
Mm-hmm.
whereas 22 acres of mangrove wetland was removed. Okay?
Mm.
It has come to my knowledge that a lot of development that has been approved by uh, CPA under the government of the PPM is just taking a disadvantage of the people of this country, but most importantly, of our children, children, and our future generation of Caymanians. And this highly upsets me. I am highly upset. And what makes it even worse is to become under the knowledge of it is some of our very own Caymanians that is robbing the Cayman Islands from their Caymanians, their children, their Caymanian future generations. Okay, I am so irate this morning. You know, it breaks my heart. I'm a mother of 2 grown adult children and a grandmother of 6 grandchildren, an aunt to many nephews and nieces. And I will stand firm. I will, to the best of my ability. I'm even becoming emotional. This is so upsetting. Committed to do what I need to do. To have something done about what is happening in my country.
Yes.
It is heartbreaking. It is very, very heartbreaking.
Wow. Miss Charlene, thank you so much. I know that it takes a lot to just, come on here and be honest. You were one of the people who was involved in the protests and trying to get a new government. I think the truth of the matter is, and Carson has just said it, that unfortunately, some of what the progressives has allowed to happen and permitted to happen can't be undone even by this new PAC government, because you can imagine if the CPA has approved certain projects, the ramifications of the political arm now attempting to interfere with that and say that this project cannot move forward would lead to substantial lawsuits and financial losses. And in fact, I'm of the opinion that that wouldn't be the thing to do, because that sends a message that the political arm can interfere, despite they're the ones who are approving and putting in place these government boards. They can't then go and undo what a board has done, even if there has been political dealings in the background that allowed these boards to come to the decisions that they came to. So thank you so much, Ms. Charlene. We hope that this is your first time in the program actually calling in. So thank you for that. And of course, we will continue to have these discussions, and I invite all of you to call into the program at any time. It is 9:30, so we do have to end the program today, but we will continue to have these discussions. And in fact, next week, I think maybe Monday or Tuesday, we need to look at, I've just gotten the updated organizational chart for government. I want to have a look at that chart and kind of go through those various positions, as well as looking at the boards, because now we know that the government has to change out these board members, and they need to do so forthwith. A lot of people are looking for political appointments, but we need to look at what makes board members qualified to even be on the boards, because that is extremely important. I know that it's something that I think I've written an editorial at least once about already, the importance of picking board members that come with some degree of qualifications and relevancy. They want to talk about qualified. The board members need to be more qualified than the politicians. And oftentimes that doesn't happen because they're merely political appointments. So we're going to start to hold them accountable at all levels. Miss Charlene, you look beautiful today.
Thank you. Thank you. Sandra, can I just mention 2 more things really quickly? Quite understood everything you've just said. And I am in agreement. But what I would like to see happen as a Caymanian and part of this community is for the CPA board to be investigated, revamped, and a new board chosen, first and foremost. Secondly, there's many boards that need to be reviewed and revamped. And thirdly, I want to encourage the public to also become involved in some of our activist groups. It is your country as well as it is mine. And we just have to put forth what we can contribute to in regards to ensuring that the benefits of this country is for Caymanians first and foremost. It's like Dr. Roy Bodden made a statement. Who are we building for? Constantly ask yourselves that question and process the question. Who are we building for?
Yes.
As is definitely not Caymanians, and that must change. That must change. I'm also encouraging them to join the Cayman Development Watch Group and also the Mangrove Rangers Group. And of course, let's not forget, last but not least, CPR is still around. Have a great day, Sandra.
Thank you, Miss Charlene.
Allens.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Again, it is that easy to join the program at any time. You just simply click on a link. You do have the option of actually turning your camera off if you're not camera ready. But Miss Charlene was looking beautiful, and she was definitely camera ready in that shot. So Ali says Jean can't get away with destroying our mangroves if this ECP says no, but they seem to be just as happy to destroy Cayman. One of the interesting questions that I have is, once you've done something like remove mangroves and then you go back and try to seek permission, how do you undo that? I mean, no amount of money in the world is going to put those mangroves back, right? And the protection that they offer. So you fine people financially, and the financial fines are normally nothing of great significance. So that's why they continue to do it. We need to think of a way of criminalizing these acts, seriously, so that when it occurs, people will be held accountable at a very different level. Make somebody sit in jail for a month, and they're going to think twice about destroying mangroves. I'm just saying, versus paying money, because it seems like they got all kind of money to be flowing around. These backdoor deals provide them with a lot of financial clout. Criminalize it and see how quickly it'll come to an end. Right. Good, folks. 9:35 straight up. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. I wish all of you a wonderful Friday afternoon, Friday day, as you traverse through your workday and into the weekend. It is a holiday weekend, so please, 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 folks, be safe. I don't know how many times I got to tell y'all, stop drinking and driving, because you're causing accidents that are killing people on our roadways or killing yourselves. And so we ask you, have a look at this accident this morning by the primary school. We ask you to be ever so careful with what you're doing and how you're going about your day. Safety first, because we want to keep everybody alive and healthy. Thank you, Louie. We appreciate your support. Carson, thank you for joining the conversation. Carson says, let us pray that Cayman doesn't turn like one of those third world countries with all the corruption going on. We've got enough corruption already evidently happening right here in the Cayman Islands, and we need to stomp it out. Thank you, Evelyn. Cameron was here for it. Says, keep the fire on them. Louis says, let's discover ourselves on Discovery Day and spread the love. Thank you all. Linda, Cece, all that participated in today's program with your comments and calling in. Cece says that Carson is a joker. Miss Morna, I trust that you had a beautiful birthday and you're continuing to celebrate straight into the weekend. Be blessed, everyone, and we will see you guys. I'm still debating about a Monday show. Maybe we'll do a Monday show. I'm not sure yet, because I love being here on holidays. What else y'all got to do, really? It's lots of fun. But we'll see how Monday goes. But again, keep it locked here to CMR.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.